You are listening now to the Spirituality Now podcast, the show that is solely focused on practical spirituality, leadership, and mindset skills with the aim and purpose of supporting you master your life. Welcome to the Spirituality Now podcast. Welcome to the Spirituality Now podcast, now also on YouTube. My name is Ivonne your host, and I'm actually feeling like today is a day of a party, a celebration, because we have in the show one of my dearest allies, friends. I think he called me comrade. I think that's how you pronounce it. And I actually love it. This is the only person that has called me a comrade. Comrade. I will, and I resonate with that. I vibe with that. There's some kind of like loyalty and reverence and also discipline on that. And I love it. And he is a beloved friend of mine, the beloved husband of another beloved friend of mine that we had in the show, Miss Christina Marie, that she's just such a genius of creativity and the heroic journey. And this man, you are in for a treat. Those of you who are watching on YouTube, you are in for a treat physically, experiential, emotionally, and transmission. And those of you who listen, thank you so much. Pay attention because beyond the words of this man, there's always a really pure transmission of devotion, of divine mission, and divine love. So, Aaron, welcome to the show. I'm going to read your bio very quickly and introduce you, and then I promise you'll get the microphone from this Mexican woman. Okay. So, Aaron Rose is our guest today. In the episode, we decided to call it Walking the Uncharted Path of Faith. And he is really an embodiment to be able to talk about it. Aaron is a mentor, teacher, a writer, extraordinary writer, and human being committed to doing his part to create a world where we will all thrive as our true selves. His work blends transformational coaching, subconscious reprogramming, meditation, and prayer to support people in following their own inner authority, keywords, and co creating our dreams in collaboration with God. He mentors heart centered beings in stepping into greater leadership and impact in their own unique way. He shares messages of hope and tools for transformation so that we all can free ourselves to free our world and live the lives that truly honor us. And I'm going to add something. He bakes this most extraordinary bread that every day I think of Aaron because I think of his bread. I think he has a path of the Essenes or something because that bread, I've never tasted something like that. Aaron, beloved, welcome.
Thank you
to the
so
show.
much, Yvonne. It's so wonderful to be here with you. As always, it always just feels like the most miraculous, significant moment when we come together in co-creation.
Yeah, I love that. I love that you I think your last name should be Aaron Rose co-creating. Because you are really aware of this co-creation that is not only needed, but it's also is a way of freedom. I believe is a way of moksha, is a way of transcendental illumination and awareness. Even though we're individuals journeying the individuality path, the co-creation, the collaboration is where we meet this one, right? So, but Aaron, let's just start briefly with a brief history of you as Aaron. What brought you into delivering and into being the being that now serves others? You're like a modern bodhisattva for me, and we'll speak about that in a moment. But tell us a little bit about your story, the journey of your inner child, of the wounded self into the heroic one.
Thank you
Right.
so much. It definitely was a journey that started with that experience of wounding, that deep dive into the darkness of this world, the darkness that was part of the lineage that I incarnated into. I grew up in New York City in a one-bedroom apartment with 5 other people, and an experience that was full of a lot of scarcity, a lot of lack, a lot of limitation, a lot of fear. And as a kid, I always had this sense of even when I was in the darkness, I had this relationship with the light because there was some part of me that felt it's not supposed to be like this. People are not supposed to be suffering in this way. There's not supposed to be this level of harshness or level of discord and conflict. And I was seeing that on every level of the fractal in terms of my family system, but then also growing up in New York City and the diverse spectrum of human experience that's happening there to, even wider in the world. And there was this feeling driving me always. I want to make the world a better place. I was so inspired by people like Martin Luther King Jr., people like Nelson Mandela, these sort of almost mythic, beyond human heroes that I was given as a young person of these are the people who have changed the world, who've made the world a better place. And I wanted to do my part in that. And of course, now I can look back and see that it was much more of this dual journey of, yes, a very highly altruistic orientation in terms of wanting everybody to be okay and wanting everybody to have what they needed and wanting to really resolve conflict and having an innate sense of that oneness. And it also was about myself. It was about me reckoning with how do I feel free and safe and loved and at peace in my own being, in my own life. And the beginning of this journey was a very 3D experience of activism. And by 3D, I mean not aware of the higher realms, not aware of the energetic nature of reality, not aware of universal law. So it was the experience of fighting against the externally manifested enemy. This was the time when I was marching in the streets as an activist. I was chaining myself to government buildings. I was doing all kinds of things to get certain systems and people who seemed to have power to make some different choices so that other people could have what they needed. And in that experience of really sort of raging against the status quo, my deep desire to see true lasting change brought me to one of now many different dark night of the soul sort of consciousness shattering moments where I realized, when are we going to get there? In all of this fighting, all of this struggle, like, when am I going to know that we've reached peace? Because the energy that I was within, the activist groups I was within, there were obviously beautiful hearts there, but there was a lot of pain. There was a lot of pointing fingers. There was a lot of anger. And I didn't see resolution in that. And that brought me into a deeper exploration and really divine encounters with those, when the student is ready, the teacher appears, divine encounters with what I would call awakened metaphysicians, people who have that Christed encoding of unconditional love and of a deeper understanding of what's really going on here on earth, and the understanding that if we want the external to change, we have to change ourselves. And that was quite a surprise for me in some ways. And it's even there are younger versions of myself that are surprised that I'm even here on this podcast talking about God and universal law, because I was raised in a very repressive religious context. And the context that I had on what God was felt very limiting for a long time. And so that was its own healing journey of coming into deeper understanding of authentic spirituality and a real relationship with God that goes beyond all of the programming and all of the limitation. So that quest is what has brought me to this moment in terms of
Wow.
making the world a better place and being shown increasing levels of truth around what that actually means and what my part is in that.
Wow, Aaron. And I just took notes like crazy. I thought I had muted so nobody heard the clips, but I was like a little mouse lab, like tick, 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 all the notes of all the wisdom you're sharing. I'm so grateful that that wounding, that dark place, that dark nights, multiple dark nights of the soul, that you chose to use those as a place of, now that we're talking about Shugendo and the fire and the mountain, and that you took those challenges and opportunities to shape you into a true devoted guide, leader, teacher, and servant of humanity. I'm very grateful for that. That I'm grateful you are alive. I'm grateful you have that pristine awareness and pure service guided heart, right? And because nowadays, and with the situation of humanity, we need more of that, right? That fierce service and power and willingness to do what it takes. So, Aaron, well, now I think that you've shared in the most clear and more beautiful way the wounding. I've never heard someone sharing the wounding in a way that it actually feels initiatory. So you talked about the lineage, and I'm right now obsessed with that. It's like, I finally realized, I was initiated as a Swami many years ago and ordained as a Swami. And you know that I never got the power of the lineage until like November last year. Years, 20 years at initiate, 20 years ordained. And I didn't get it because my consciousness was not mature enough. So tell us about the lineage that you follow. What is the lineage? What lineage is
It's
that?
a really powerful question. And I had a similar experience with lineage, really, even in the last year as well, where I think when I say lineage, there's different understandings of that. One understanding is the human family system that I incarnated into that has a certain sort of bloodline and genetic patterning and karmic curriculum that I signed up for and have been working through. And then there's the understanding of lineage in terms of these awakened beings who have been holding the truth in their own unique way and passing the liberating baton through the ages in this realm that's doing everything that it can to keep us asleep and keep us disconnected from our power. And it's actually the one of the lineages that I am in deep resonance with now is the rising star lineage, which I connected to through my beloved Christina. And it's a master seed lineage of Christed beings who, as I said, throughout the ages have kept that true pure fire of enlightenment and divine love awake and alive. And I think when I think about lineage in the world right now, there's so much fragmentation. There's all these little pieces of truth, and many people are on their own seeker path of connecting what resonates for them. And there are people who are really benefiting from breaking from certain lineage patterns because it's been too limiting for them. But to find a path that rings pure and true within your being on a soul level is a great gift. And it's something that I don't take for granted. I used to think of it as not as with less reverence than I think about it now.
Wow, you're so well spoken. And isn't that the truth with less reverence? When I got initiated and ordained as a Swami, all the initiations that I've gone through and the ordinations, I never looked for them. I arrived one day to a room and there were all the Swamis and the shaving of the hair. I actually shaved my hair not fully because I had still ego. I still have it. But I did cut the hair and everything. And I remember being outraged of like, I'm not a Swami. And I remember receiving the name of the lineage, the Kriya Yoga lineage, Swami Amenai, the bliss of truth. And I went through a stage very egoic. I used the robes, the orange robes, like, oh my gosh. I used the antagonistic, like, I will not do that until I got it. My name, my ordination was a focus of becoming. Can you become the name you are given, the bliss of truth? Dang, it was so potent. But it's like like last year, something happened, like it's like a timer clicked in. inside I was like, oh, the lineage is it's like a little voice said, now it's time, right? Like when the fruit is mature, it will fall from the tree. And from there, I mean, you, Christina, and I now are being called to the mountains of Wisconsin to visit this teacher that we have never heard before of him. And now we're all like, we gotta
Yes.
make it to the mountains over there, right? But there's a purity in your sharing, Aaron, and you know how much I love that since I met you. There's the reverence, and the purity of heart. So I know you're a writer, extraordinary writer. Tell us a little bit of your writings and what you are planning to birth in humanity in the next years through this portal of authorship, of bookship, right? That your book is a very potent one. And it has to come in the right time, in the right hands, and the right container. But what is it? What is the medicine that through those books you are bringing to our
Mm.
world?
The medicine is the first phrase that comes to mind is means and ends. This is actually been learning that one of my gene keys is all about the seed that we plant determines the fruit that is created. And that's what I learned in my activism days. If I was sowing these seeds of fear, of separation, of limitation, of there always being a bad guy, then there would always be a bad guy. There would be more fear. There would be more separation. There would be more limitation. And this first book that I've created and am stewarding into the world is the core message is so much about the change that we desire comes from that mastery of aligning means and ends. Aligning, I always say, how we do the work is the work. Right. And in a world where there's so many tactics and so many strategies, how do we cultivate the state that we wish to experience right here and now and let that be our contribution? Let that be the highest expression of our mission. And another way of speaking about that is that it is about the power of divine love and the power of the way that divine love transforms and heals and restores to wholeness everything. And in this world where we're at the effect of so many limiting perceptions and oh, you can't do that and you can't be that, or because this happened, you're stained or you're doomed. There is this higher realm, this higher truth, which is our birthright, which is divine love, which is the realm of the miraculous. And we have the power to embody that here, to call upon that, to remember that, and to allow that to transform our lives. And that's something that to say I'm passionate about it isn't even the full expression of it because it is the fire that burns in my heart. And the third layer I'll bring in is that part of the mission that I have with this first book is creating something that feels like a companion to people on their path of divine awakening and divine mission, where I talk to so many people who have this sense of, I think I'm here for something bigger. And maybe they have a vision, or maybe they just have this sense of, I feel like I'm here for something more. I feel myself being called forward, or I think I do, or am I crazy? And everyone around me doesn't seem to be getting the same call, but I'm feeling it. And this creation in particular is that vote of confidence of I imagine people being handed it and them feeling, okay, I'm not crazy. I'm receiving this call to my highest expression for a reason, and I have some stories and some tools that I can walk with that will support me.
Wow, I can't wait to read it and have it in my hands. Not digital only. I
And
like to
actually,
read
I
the
will
books.
say,
And when you talk, and this has
I was just going to say about the physical piece that also came through very strong as you asked me about the book, because we're in this world that's so digital and so artificial and so quick, and part of the medicine that I feel like I'm here to birth with this book and also stewarding other sacred texts is the power of consciousness brought fully into form in a way that is different than reading something great on the internet. There's something about legacy and about, on a metaphysical level, fully concretizing something on earth that feels like it's part of the magic of the physical books.
Wow. Wow. And I know that, because you are in YouTube and in video, there's a little delay, but I thank all of our listeners. If you are listening on Spotify, iTunes, iHeartRadio, wherever, you can also watch us on YouTube. And thank you for that patience. But it's so true. A book nowadays is not only a book, a portal of wisdom. Now we have a very powerful tool to train our eyes into movement because, we with technology, we're only looking in front, and I signed up for a class with Maido Moore, the abbot of the Korinji monastery, just to because it's been such a pull for me, right? And he has this exercise of extending our vision wider to be able to open more, feel more of life. And I've noticed that has helped me a lot in meditation. And a book has that ability. You not only touch, read, but also use your eyes, exercise your eyes, and then you can feel more of this transmission. And I think books right now, even though a lot of people say, oh, they're going to disappear, I think this is the most important time in humanity to read a physical, not audio, not, unless you have challenges, digital, but a real book. It's going to become more powerful than before. So I love that you said that. So walking the uncharted path of faith, my beloved Aaron. Oh, how does it feel like? How does it look like? And how do we do that?
Mm.
I know.
Walking the
I
uncharted
felt that
path
too. It was like, oh,
of faith.
there we go.
To me, it is, there's so many different perspectives on these different ways of being that we have in the world, and these sort of splits in human experience that are starting to happen more and more. And for me, I do feel this very before and after relationship with life, where I used to be in a more unconsciously predictive relationship with life. It was like, okay, if I get this kind of job or I do this kind of thing, then it will lead to this, and that will get me what I need. And the path of faith is, it's it is that expansion that you were speaking about, with the way that your sight opens, and it tests you to be courageous enough to really name and claim your dreams, and to say, this, I want to experience this. I have this vision, I have this need, this desire, whether it's in my personal life or it's about something for the whole world. And the path of faith is about doing, I always talk about the balance between our job and God's job. And our job is owning in our sovereignty, in our free will, saying, this is what I stake my claim to. And then God's job is to fill in the details. And while God is doing that, our job is surrender. It's trust. It's saying, there's so many stories I could give from my life. The one that comes to mind is my path to divine partnership with Christina, where for years, all I had was the feeling in my heart of, there's a perfect match out there for me who I'm going to co-create with in the most amazing way. And there was no 3D evidence. There was no clear path. There was just the truth within my own being and my commitment to that. And in that simultaneous state of very strong personal will and complete surrender to the divine will, I was brought along the totally unpredictable series of steps that brought us to meet and to come together. And that's happened in many other areas of life. And so to me, it's a complete reorganization of what we think is logical, what we think is safe. And now, if I were to try to go back to a path where everything was, where I could see everything already in front of me, it would be so limiting. And I do feel like it's what at least a certain group of us on earth are being called to do right now, is to own the bigness of our dreams and to stretch into faith so that we can actually be led to their fruition.
Wow, that's so, it's kind of a balm what you're sharing. That gives hope
Mm,
to my heart. I love it. And it excites me too. I think that people oftentimes, they like to talk about faith, and then they don't know what it takes to live a path of faith. You're going to be bruised. You're going to have to climb mountains. You're going to do it wounded. You're going to do it with scars. And but there's something so honorable, and the reward of the power that this gives us, which is not a power only, of course, is a mastery over yourself, but it's not a power to for others to obey you, or it's really the power to genuinely help others
mm.
walk this path. And I think that's why I'm so grateful to know you, Christina, your beloved, and the work that you're doing. So just a couple of more things before we end this transmission. I think you are such an eloquent speaker that all the essences are transmitted already in this episode. You are out of social media most of the times. Tell me how is that? Because I think that's every day. I have, luckily, fortunately, I have a team that helps me create the content. They post it, they tell me to receive a private message, answer it or not. That's why to my closest friends we have our phone numbers, right? But social media is such a madness, and every day, Aaron, if I confess, I'm like, I want to remove myself from everything. Though I'm grateful to have those venues, Facebook, LinkedIn. Now there's threads, the TikTok, the it's so much. It's so much, and I do feel that it draws a little bit of your soul, of your attention into those uh, fragmented pieces. Even though it's a good venue also to help others. So tell me how you what's your take on this, in this uncharted path of faith, in this situation that humanity is living? What is your approach to the use of social media?
It's definitely been a wild initiatory path for me because for the first part of my public service on social media, it was a very powerful, important tool for me. There was a point on my divine path where I was comfortable being known in a certain way, but there was a level of control around it. I would be doing workshops at companies with 300, 500 people. I would be on stage and being seen in my truth, but it was still, even a room with 300 people, if no one's putting that on social media, that's a fairly contained thing, right? My friends from high school don't need to know what I'm saying on that stage. And there was a certain point where God truly called me to get on the mic publicly and to integrate all aspects of myself and to be comfortable being seen without controlling. And for years, I was posting on social media daily and really having an increasingly positive feedback loop of people finding my work and really resonating with it. And it was such an alchemical time because I would sit in my morning practice and I would do my meditation and my journaling, and then I would ask, okay, what am I meant to share today? And sometimes it would be uncomfortable and it would force me to deal with these fragmented parts of myself that wanted to hide, that didn't feel fully integrated in saying, this is what I believe, this is what I stand for. And so I really honor that public arena for what it did for me in that way. And I see how it helps other people own their truth and own their authenticity. And so I wanted to do that honoring first, and then say at a certain point, it started to feel like my time there was up. It started to feel expired. I started to feel that drain that you're talking about more and more and more. It started to feel like I was trying to control my relationship with something that was net negative. It actually reminded me of other addictive experiences that I've had when I got totally sober from drugs and alcohol years ago. And there's a phrase in certain recovery spaces that says half measures availed us nothing. Right? It talks about these ways that we try to sort of manage stuff that's taking from us, that's not actually serving us by, oh, I'll only use it this much or only use it that much, but there's still a cost. And for me, and this is fully I statements, my personal path, because everybody's in a different place with this, it reached a point where I felt complete and I felt like I needed to pull the plug to reclaim my energy. And I went back and forth for years because I want to help people. I want to connect with people. I want to share my truth. I want to be available, right? And the choice that I made now about 3 months ago was to completely stop any short form social media, anything that has the super, super, super quick way of just, 7-minute video, quick little post. Exactly. Exactly. So I'm still doing podcasts, I'm still doing YouTube. And honestly, it is such a relief. I feel like I'm in the early stages of still understanding what it's doing for me. But I felt like I was called to call the bluff on the story that you can't be successful, that you can't impact people if you're not showing up and playing the game on these apps. So I'm in a real time experiment on that, and it's going well so far.
So you know what, Aaron? Oh my gosh, I don't want you to go. I know this is your podcast and also Christina's. Whenever you want
Thank
to
you.
come, come. But what you just said, before social media, I'm going to tell you, I look at the ego. We, a team and I, opened a nonprofit organization called Mastery Life, where we met all the Hay House authors. We brought them to Mexico, and there was no social media. It was literally email, sending a genuine from our heart, hey, Doreen Virtue back in the days, Deepak Chopra, Don Miguel Ruiz. We will call them like on email, or sometimes their phone was on their website. We would like to invite you to teach a community of people in Mexico. They will say yes, and then we will have sold out workshops, 200, 300 people, no Facebook, no Instagram. And I believe this is the power of what Gandhi used to say, let your life become your message. When the energy is pure, it's like how you, Christina, and me just met these Korinji pure masters, right? It's like we didn't know them. It was not Facebook or something. Something finds you, right? The perfect energetics come is just because our minds are so stuck in the addiction of I need this marketing, this video. If you don't have a podcast, if you don't put it on YouTube, actually I felt the pressure. Put it on YouTube, but I'm actually glad because I get to see your beautiful faces now, right? But it is true. If we can find a place of fundamentals, of foundational piece where the soul power is more important than the social media, then social media will turn into social medium. We can use it really to help humanity. Anyways, I'm ranting now because I love to talk to you. So the last thing, Aaron, well, a couple of more things. Can we talk about briefly that you are a Qigong practitioner and have mastery in this? How important do you think right now any martial art, any embodied in the form practices are for what we're living in humanity?
I just got such deep, full body chills as you said that because I don't know where I would be. I used to have this, I still feel this way about meditation, but I used to really look at meditation and say, thank goodness I have been meditating for as long as I have, as things have gotten wilder on earth. And I can feel the subtle but profound way that that has literally helped me maintain my sanity and my focus and my sense of self. And qigong coming into my life really just in the last couple of years has been that next thing of really teaching me how to regulate my nervous system on a deeper level. And there's something about the the gentleness and the power within it at the same time, because there's so much happening digitally, there's so much happening artificially. There's also this really intense pace of life in the modern world where even exercise is super fast and go sprint and go, lift this thing super quickly. And I love different kinds of movement, but for me to do a movement that requires a level of presence and can't be rushed through, I think is deeply stabilizing, and it connects us to a rhythm that's more natural and a rhythm that is more solid than the frequency that's currently pumping through the collective. So I'm looking out my window right now to the place on our land where I go and I stand in the morning, and even if I'm doing 3 minutes of some very basic breathing, just shaking my body out, tapping my meridian points with my feet on the earth, for me personally, it's incredibly important. And it's something that when I work with people, when I mentor leaders, talking about these type of physical fundamentals is becoming more of an essential for me, because otherwise we're attuning and in training to other frequencies that are more dominant.
Well, I'm a newborn lover. It was love at first sight. All the martial arts, the Shaolin culture, Tai Chi, Qigong. I'm currently studying medical Qigong with the real Doctor Strange. I mean, I'm gonna have him on the podcast. He's really like, I watch him, and sometimes I distracted because he's like the golden orb, and I'm like, I'm watching the golden orb. Yeah, real thing. But it's so powerful to be in the body, in the bones, and feel it and bring the earth here. So, Aaron, can people connect with you? How can people, um, learn or connect about your mentorship and your events? What's the best way? And we'll put everything on the copy of the podcast.
Amazing. The best way is my website, which is aaronxrose.com. And that's where you'll see writing, you'll see programs, event announcements. And that's also where you can sign up for my email list, which is my new favorite thing now that I'm off of social media. The love that I'm getting to pour into that space and the depth of transmission and connection that's increasing with the folks on that list feels really beautiful. So if you feel called, I would love for you to join.
Oh, wonderful. So, Aaron, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for your transmission. Thank you for helping us walk the uncharted path of faith with such clear pointers and directions, and for sharing your story, for sharing the kind of prescriptions of walking this path in divine love, divine cooperation, union, and clarity. And you are always welcome to come back. Again, everyone, thank you for listening. Remember, we're a philanthropic podcast. We don't put advertisements or anything purposefully. So you get the full transmission of our beautiful guest. I get to learn a lot. Hope you are learning and this is benefiting too. Connect with Aaron. Sign up for his mailing list. It's free because the transmission, as clear as he was today, it continues. It continues to unfold. So we will see you next week. Thank you, thank you. Les mandamos un beso.
Thank you so
thank you,
much,
Aaron.
Ivonne.
Adios. We hope you enjoyed this new episode, and if you did, please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or anywhere where you prefer to listen to your podcast. Make sure to check the links to everything we mentioned in this episode. For more news, future or past episodes, or for any other inquiry, please visit our website at delaflorteachings.com. Once again, thank you for listening to the Spirituality Now podcast.